International finance team is on the television channel 1. They're saying the economic reform in Iraq is at an increasing rate and we have invested over $2 billion in this Iraq. Frank. This is the international finance community. They all know what's going on. When they say your economic reform has increased, what they're talking to you about without saying it because they cannot, is the float. Just because the central bank is changing monetary policy doesn't mean the exchange rate is going to rise. Only with the success and growth of Iraq's economy can the dinar go up in value. We know that there's a lot going on behind the scenes. One of our bankers, Wells Fargo, said, "Just hang in there. Just hang in there a couple more days." So I'm excited. We will be able to look back at years of waiting and say, it was worth it. In Iraq news, KBR wins $46 million contract to support sustainable development in Iraq. This is actually more exciting than you think. This is an American engineering firm that was just awarded this 5-year options to support infrastructure and energy ambitions. This is a long-term contract and they are moving forward with these mega projects. What do they need to do these mega projects that they want to start immediately? They need a heck of a lot more money than the current rate will support. It has moved beyond the planning phase and is in the execution stage. For it to be executed it needs dollars, and we certainly think we know where those dollars are coming from. National Bank of Iraq tutorial. With simple steps, you can now deposit your money through ATMs with ease. The ATM tutorial about ability to make deposits into the ATMs is not only a convenience for Iraqis, but another way for the CBI to collect 30 notes that may be in the dinar mattresses. National Bank of Iraq tutorial. With simple steps, you can now deposit your money through ATMs with ease. We are extremely close. $3.22 is the actual reinstatement. They're not going to reinstate it. But it would be enough to launch it into the float. Let the float take care of it. The float will take it up to $3.86, $4.25, $4.72. Inflation is the reason why they have been doing this RV that's leading into an RI, but the RE is not feasible, therefore due to inflation a float is necessary to take it to the real effective exchange rate, which may be around the numbers I suggested. Will the rate be fixed or a float? Mark Z. I don't look for a wild float but a very controlled or fixed float. If there is a float, I can't see more than a 2-5% change is allowed in a float. I am not looking for wild swings. Of course we won't know until we get there. It's possible $3.22 or higher. To me it doesn't make sense to start at 0.76 cents or $1.32 to take 15-20 years to wait for it to grow. They need to start closer to their end goal, It looks like to me $1.32 is our worst case scenario. Will the rate be fixed or a float? Militiaman. Saleh, who is the Prime Minister's financial advisor, has released several articles on this. I think a managed float is exactly what they are talking about. It's a form of a fixed, and a form of a float. It's a component of both. If there was to be growth, it would be as conservative as they can. They will need to keep the rate stable on the dinar. Contractors would not appreciate rate or price changes every day. Remember the reinstatement rate 20 years ago of $3.22. Even the IMF has documents stating this was a relevant number. If it came out at that, they would keep the rate in a relevant range. Could it grow from there? It could. And they could adjust that accordingly but would probably keep it pretty tight. Hamoudi Al-Lami, advisor to the Prime Minister for Industry, Development and Private Sector Affairs, today, Friday, detailed the most prominent government decisions and privileges granted to industrial projects, while confirming that Iraq has achieved self-sufficiency in rebar and cement. Al-Lami said, the recent decisions of the Council of Ministers granted many privileges to owners of industrial projects, pointing out that the Prime Minister confirmed that Iraq is about to establish industrial cities in Baghdad and all governorates, and the cities will need large quantities of construction materials that include rebar, cement, bricks, paints, pipes, etc. He added, the Prime Minister directed that industrialists seize the opportunity of government support and the decisions taken by the Council of Ministers, and to race against time, given that some projects have already begun and other projects will be launched after completing the legal procedures for contracting with the implementing agencies.